Hello, lovelies. So you might have heard a lot of people in the spiritual community talk about the Great Awakening or the Global Awakening or Ascension. And this is because this is a life-changing, spectacular event that is very near at this time. You might even say that it is already happening. But what does this Great Awakening really mean? In this video, I am going to explain to you what this is all about. And we are going to discuss this using the tarot, because amazingly, the tarot, a tool that has been around for centuries, is showing this great awakening in its illustrations. So if you'd like to hear more about what the tarot is teaching us about the global awakening, be sure to stick around for this video. And if you like what I'm doing here, I would love it if you could subscribe and like this video. And you can also check me out on Instagram for more tarot related content. Now let's get into the juicy stuff. First of all, I want you to know that the tarot decks that are being used today are slightly different from the original tarot decks. And let me tell you why. It's because through history, the tarot has been a very powerful tool for the illiterate masses to develop their spirituality and have a direct connection with the divine. And because of this, these people were independent from what the church was telling them. And of course, this was an eyesore for the people in power, because independent people are very hard to control. And that's why they made some slight changes in the tarot. They are almost unrecognizable. But these changes are very significant because they hide our truth about our own divine power from us. And I will be making a very special video about this soon. So stay tuned if you're interested in that. But for now, you just need to know that the tarot has been changed over time, because you might notice that I put the Major Arcana cards in a slightly different order than what you are used to. So the first 7 Major Arcana cards of the decks that we use today are ordered the Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, the Empress, the Emperor, the Hierophant, and the Lovers. But the original order that I use and was taught by my tarot teachers is the Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, the Emperor, the Lovers, the Hierophant, the Empress. So as you can see, this alteration in the order is very small and it really doesn't seem like a big deal. But it is. And surprise, surprise, it has a lot to do with the Great Awakening. I wonder why those people in power wanted to keep that hidden from us. The Great Awakening has been prophesied in many religions and spiritual teachings. And as I said before, it is finally here. But what does this actually mean? So it means that we as a collective, everyone around the world, will raise our consciousness to a higher vibration, a higher form of consciousness. So it's a collective transition from 3D to 5D. For centuries, our Earth has resided in 3D, which is a certain vibration, a frequency that is characterized by polarity, duality, ego, disconnection, dependence, spiritual dependence. And then 5D is a much higher frequency that is about unconditional love, connectedness, wholeness, universal truth, and the soul. In the 3rd dimension, there is a constant battle of power. Who is wrong? Who is right? Who is the best? Competition. But in the 5th dimension, this is all gone. The 5th dimension is all about harmony. It's perfectly balanced. And more people are waking up to this truth, to this new reality. And this will keep happening to everyone on this planet. But in order for this shift from 3D to 5D to happen, there first needs to be total chaos. because those old 3D structures that have ruled our planet for so long, they have to break down. And actually, the current corona crisis is playing a huge part in this. If you want to know more about this, check out this video. So how can we see this shift of consciousness in the tarot? Well, as I told you, the Major Arcana cards are placed in a certain order. And this order shows the journey of the Fool, which is the first card of the Major Arcana. And the Fool moves through the Major Arcana and learns a new lesson, a new experience, and expands his consciousness with every card he passes. So we can see the Fool as a symbol for our collective that expands his consciousness and raises its vibration in every card. And from that perspective, I want to focus on these 4 cards. As you can see, they form 2 couples. Each couple has a feminine and a masculine card, a spiritual and a more grounded earthly card. And of course, this is no coincidence. These couples illustrate 2 different relationships between masculine and feminine energy. The first pair, the High Priestess and the Emperor, shows the dualistic 3D relationship between masculinity and femininity. They show the old stereotypes of men being the best leaders and women being very emotional and intuitive. In 3D, these stereotypes have often been used as a weapon to make sure that the power structure stayed the way they were and to oppress women. So one would say that women would never be good leaders because they are too emotional and therefore unstable or unreliable. And this, of course, is a very destructive rhetoric both for women and men because they both get cut off from their whole divine self. Women are not able to manifest themselves in the physical world completely, and men are not allowed to show or even have emotions. But fortunately, this all changes in 5D, which is shown by the second couple, the Empress and the Hierophant. This couple shows a leading woman and a spiritual man. And this new relationship between masculinity and femininity makes room for a feminine form of leadership and a masculine form of spirituality. So does this mean that in 5D all the women will be the leaders and the men will be more evolved spiritually? No, not necessarily. Of course, 5D is all about balance, and since now leadership is dominated by men, there will be more women leading in 5D. But actually, that is not what these cards are about. The Empress and the Hierophant are not about males and females, men and women. They are about masculinity and femininity. And those are just 2 energies that every person has within them. In 3D, there is a very clear distinction between those 2 energies of masculinity and femininity, and they are intentionally kept apart by patriarchal structures. But in 5D, they are very balanced and in harmony, and sometimes even merged together. We see this happen in the tarot as well, as the 3D couple turns into the 5D couple by merging together in the Lovers. If you want to learn more about that, you might want to check out my IGTV on Instagram about the Lovers. I'll put the link in the description below. And even without restoring the tarot into its original order, we can still find hints of this global awakening and this shift of consciousness by just looking at the illustrations. For instance, if we look at the Hierophant and the High Priestess, we see that both of them are sitting between 2 pillars. But the pillars on the High Priestess card are black and white, and the Hierophant has gray pillars. And I think this is so interesting because in my IGTV about the High Priestess, I explained that the High Priestess is very aware of the duality of the 3D world, the physical world, that a bright light always casts a shadow, and that we need to embrace our shadow side in order to fully embrace our light. And what happens if you fully embrace the shadow and the light and merge them together? The black and the white becomes gray. which brings us to the Hierophant. The next stage, the 5th dimension. We can also see that the High Priestess carries some kind of scripture. Often it has Torah written on it, which is Hebrew for teaching, instruction, or law. So even though the High Priestess encourages us to listen to our inner voice, our intuition, she also brings some written rules. Of course, we don't know what those rules are, so there's still a lot of room for individual interpretation. But this could refer to the so-called gatekeepers in the spiritual community. These are people who have a lot of spiritual wisdom and experience, but because of that they feel like they can tell other people what to do in their spirituality or judge them for it. And that is not 5D spirituality. The Hierophant doesn't carry any scripture. Instead, he is sitting in this beam of light, which is his direct connection to the divine. He doesn't need rules. He gets his information firsthand from the source, from the universe. Now that you understand how the tarot illustrates our ascension, I want to give you a quick disclaimer. Because now that in this video, for this metaphor, the High Priestess and the Emperor symbolize the obsolete power structures from the 3rd dimension, that does not mean that every time the High Priestess or the Emperor shows up in a spread for you, they are symbolizing these 3D ideas, these 3D energies. Both the High Priestess and the Emperor also have very high frequency 5D meanings, because every card has many layers and infinite definitions. And if you'd like to learn more about what 5D teachings these 2 cards have, I highly recommend you check out my IGTVs about them from my Major Arcana series. I will put the link to those videos down in the description. So guys, this is some powerful stuff, right? I am so excited for our future, knowing that this is happening and knowing that the 5th dimension is already seeping more and more into our reality. I would love to hear from you if you are already feeling the 5th dimension frequency within you or seeing it around you. I would love to hear this. Tell me in the comments. And while you're down there, why don't you just give this video a like? I would really appreciate it. Of course, I want to thank you for watching this video and watching it to the end, because the fact that you came across this video and you are watching it means that you are one of those very special people who are here on Earth to help everyone raise their frequency to the 5th dimension. You are here to pave the path for other people, and that's why you are hearing about this now, while so many other people are still asleep. So thank you for being here at this time on Earth with me, with everyone. I am sending you so much love. It is truly an honor to do this for you and to be on this earth with you right now. So I'm sending you lots of love and light. Bye.